rural-urban interconnections and development, uneven development, and in particular country, some state developed, some state underdeveloped. Rural and urban disparity present in terms of development purpose. That can be regional disparity, disparity known as economic dualism between rural and urban area. Rural area based on agricultural sector, and this agricultural sector absorb surplus labor in the economy. But in urban sector, urban area, mostly the pupils are engaged in manufacturing and service sector. Economic activity of rural area it depends on agricultural sector, and agricultural industry are interrelated interrelated and the production of agriculture and the raw materials are used in the industrial sector. In the agricultural economy, there is surplus of labor. This surplus of labor is absorbed by the agricultural sector. By using uh, this surplus labor, they produce goods, and this production of agricultural goods or raw materials used in the manufacture or service sector. Agricultural sector are the supplier of labor and product. Agricultural sector can have two types, formal sector and informal sector. And the raw materials used as a factor of production in the manufacturing sector. Agricultural sector are food and raw material supplier to the industrial sector. In the developing economy, there are two types of sector in the agricultural sector, that is formal and informal. High percentage of populations are engaged in the informal sector. In the dual economy, there is rural and urban sector. Dual economy are unlimited supply of labor, and Lewis this is called the classical model of rural economy. By Lewis. So consider first formal sector. There is rules and regulation, minimum wage, export, import are costly, entry is costly. Export import is there in the formal sector. Infrastructure, um, it's very developed. Taxation, provision is there. Entry of the formal sector is costly. Qualification, it's also needed to join in the formal sector. Tax report should be there, and in case of informal sector, no regulation, no provision, no tax entry, there is no barriers. um, Entry is not costly, no legal issue. All these things are related in the informal sector, but both formal and informal sector run in developing country like rural urban um, dual economy. High percentage of populations engage in informal sector. Interconnections between rural and urban sector, how they help in development. 1954, Arthur Lewis developed a model on the basis of Lewis model developed by another model, that is Ransby model. Because there is some limitation in the Lewis model, that is why Ransby developed another model. In the developing economy, there are unlimited supply of labor. This idea was given by 1954 by Lewis. With minimum subsistence of wage is there in the rural sector. That model is developed by Arthur Lewis, and this is Lewis development dual economy. Classical model of this also called the classical model of dual economy by Lewis. Professor Lewis argued that a model of growth based on the existence of disguised unemployment in the economy is less developed countries. Lewis, in his book Economic Development with Unlimited Supply of Labor, has given an important theory with regard to economic development of less developed countries. The model explained that by judiciously using and exploiting their unlimited supply of labor, the less developed countries can estimate their domestic capital formations and thereby the process of growth. There is some assumptions in the Lewis model, that is marginal productivity of some labor it's equal to zero, or marginal productivity of labor it's equal to zero. That is disguised unemployment. Many people are disguised unemployed in the less developed countries. The supply of labor is perfectly elastic at subsistent wage rate. Perfectly elastic supply of labor. Less developed countries are dual economics. There is coexistence of capitalistic sector and subsistence sector, like food, clothing, basic requirement sector. Wage rate is higher in the capitalistic sector. Wage rate is stagnant or stable in subsistence sector. Um, Here W0 is subsistent wage and W it's urban wage. Here always rural wage is lesser than urban wage. This is developed by or this is argued in the model by Lewis. First, consider a diagram. In the horizontal axis, consider labor and vertical axis, consider wage or marginal productivity of labor. Basic idea of Lewis is that by this diagram I can construct that marginal productivity of labor curve. First, first marginal productivity of labor curve, wage rate W. Here horizontal axis consider marginal productivity of labor and wage. This is the labor amount L0, and there is E, suppose giving a name, and this is K. This is the origin 0. Amount of labor in the horizontal axis. Here capital fixed, but marginal productivity of labor is the demand curve. This is the marginal productivity of labor or demand curve. Fixed capital marginal productivity of labor curve up to this, and the supply of labor is L0 and the wage rate is W. So first equilibrium supply of labor is this amount. E is the equilibrium. Total output is this much amount. That is O K E L0. That is total output. But the wage rate is only this portion. Wage rate is this portion. So what is the profit? Profit is this much amount. So this is the profit of urban sector. Profit is KWE for urban. There is surplus in the economy if surplus. So this is the surplus. What is surplus? Surplus is profit, this amount. This surplus is reinvested, then for production more labor is to be required. So the amount of profit is this. This much surplus is reinvested further and need more labor. If how can we supply more labor? Either by increasing the wage rate or by transferring the labor from the agricultural sector to industrial sector. So the new demand curve is this. Or it is better to draw with a different color. That is this is new marginal product of labor curve. So we can draw. So now the new demand curve is LP or marginal product of labor K2. So output is similarly OV OVFL1, OVFL1, new output, and wage is OWFL1. New wage is OWFL1. So there is also profit, that is V, W and F. The profit portion is this. So this amount of profit is further reinvested. So the marginal productivity of labor will increase, profit increase, capital surplus increase, industrial sector invest more, they they need more labor. But Lewis provides some limitation. There is a surplus in the agricultural sector, and in the urban sector we need to transfer because marginal productivity of labor is increased. But Lewis assumes some limitation that agricultural labor are unskilled. In order to train them, need spending huge amount for their training and transfer of the worker. Profit reinvestment also uh, there in the industrial sector then need more laborer, and industrial development not considered. Agriculture and industrial sector have the third point is that industrial and agricultural sector are interrelated. Agricultural um, labor transfer to the industrial sector, but agricultural sector then the production of agricultural sector will fall, but those laborers need to buy food. That means uh, because of the surplus is increased or profit is increased, that profit is reinvestment in the industrial sector, marginal productivity, production of the labor is increased. That is why need more labor in the industrial sector. So from where we get this extra labor? Just we transfer labor from agricultural sector to industrial sector. But there is some limitation. The limitation is given here, that is provided by Arthur Lewis. And if the labors are transformed from agriculture to industrial sector, then the production in the agricultural sector falls. But those labor are transferred to the industrial sector, they need food, but they uh, didn't get the food freely from the agricultural sector because they are now working in the industrial sector. They need to buy food from the agricultural sector, but the production is fall because there is a lack of uh, supply of labor, so food price also increase. Then the industrial labor not to buy food, and they will charge higher wage. If they charge higher wage, then the surplus of the industrial sector will fall. So Ranispi model is important here. Ranispi theory of economic development 1961 provide an idea that that is, he also developed or considered transfer of labor to agricultural sector to industrial sector. But agricultural sector has uh, two section, uh, formal and informal. These two sector need to grow in such a way that both the uh, sector like industrial sector and agricultural sector grow simultaneously. So Ransby say that the pay more for the industrial laborer to purchase food. Then labor demand more wage. Here labor transfer from agricultural sector to industrial sector and food transfer from agricultural sector to industrial sector. If production fall, then surplus will also fall. So agricultural sector must grow in a balanced way. Balanced growth is important for the growth of industrial sector.